Hello, C2E2. Hi, guys. I am Jordan Zachrin, the features editor at SYFY WIRE, and I am here with a guy you guys obviously know. You want to introduce yourself? Dave Mustaine?
Hi, I'm Dave Mustaine.
Woo! We got Tim Seeley and Jeff Krelitz of Heavy Metal Magazine. Just waiting for the audience to die down. You guys are excited. I'm excited. First of all, you have, before we even talk about the book, a new album, or best of, out right now, right?
Right, it just got released. It's called Warheads on Foreheads. And it's a culmination of our 35-year career. It's kind of a journey through. It's most of the most popular songs, not all of them, because we wanted to get some of the deeper tracks on some of the records that I like, that I'd like you guys to be able to hear if you don't have all these records.
And your comic book, also coming out, that is also a journey through your songs as interpreted by lots of artists and writers. You guys worked with heavy metal on this one. So why don't you guys tell us about the comic book?
Well, Dave wanted to do something that was really celebrating Megadeth, and this being the 35th anniversary, we felt, you know, how great would it be if we went out to some of the most talented writers and artists and really tried to conceive of what the story behind everything is. I was one of those weird kids that listened to the lyrics, so I wanted to know what the song was about. And Dave's a great storyteller, so that just, it gives you so much wonderful visual imagery. And when we first sat down, I was like, hey, could you maybe write a sentence or two on each song? He goes, yeah, it would be just easier for me to, you know, do a VO and give you, and we got this Dropbox filled with all 35 songs broken down, and the inspiration and the story behind them. It was an unprecedented thing that we were just so happy to have, and all the creators loved it because all of a sudden there it is, the guy that created a story. It's like if you were adapting Lord of the Rings, having Tolkien say, well, this is really what the visuals I was going for. And I think that, I mean, Tim can speak to that as he adapted one of the stories. But.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on Megadeth. I come from a rural town in Wisconsin, and we really enjoyed some political heavy metal when we were kids. So getting to see what Dave thought about the song and then translating that into a story that isn't a little interpretation, but is going for the feel and the vibe and the message was a cool challenge to do. And I think as a comic book artist, you're used to, you know, translating big ideas into you know, short, edible moments. And I think that's kind of what our job was. And it was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah. Was it tough to go back through all those songs and try to remember what they were all about and what you were singing about all those years ago?
No, fortunately there's words, so you can read it if you forget. No, it's been fun. Listening to the music. Music for me is timeless. It just doesn't age. I think when you write lyrics, depending on what your lyrics are about, I've always tried to write lyrics that were timely and timeless, so that they mean the same thing today as they would when I first wrote it. For example, peace sells, but who's buying? That's a lyric that is as relevant today as it was when I wrote it back in 1983. And believe it or not, that's one of the tracks that didn't make it onto Warheads because it's been on everything else. So it was one of those tracks that was kind of easy to skip, but
you know, what's interesting is you were a big comic fan even growing up. I know a few of your songs about Punisher. So this is like a natural transition for you. Even some of your music before has been made into comic books. So this is not the first time you've dipped your toe into these waters.
No, for those of you that don't know, we had done something quite a while ago with Chaos Comics, and it didn't really develop the way that we were hoping, so it didn't progress any farther. This, with heavy metal and the Death by Design is the name of the graphic novel. And it has the 35 songs in it, and each one it averages out to 10 pages, and the graphics are mind-blowing. Some of the stories in there don't match up literally with the lyrics, and I think that's great because artistic license, you know, when you work with great talent, you collaborate. So that was really cool, but there was a big difference between our first attempt at doing something with graphics and this time. this, to me, I feel there's no better. We've got the greatest artists out that you can possibly get to do this project. And it wasn't just the Punisher that I liked. As a kid, I also liked Captain America and Iron Man. I used to go to the liquor store on the corner of our house, and they'd sell this crappy packs of cards and 10-year-old bubble gum, and I didn't know that they withheld the one card you needed. So you collect everything and you make a poster out of Iron Man cards. I wised up after a while and a bunch of rotten gum.
That's really, I've done that before. And so, Tim, you're the managing editor. You also adapted one of the stories. What is it like working with Dave, and were you terrified to mess it up?
I mean, yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, especially knowing that he knows his comics, that he's not, you know, coming into this as a newbie, and he's a fan of the medium, made it even more important for us to do a really good job and to honor his vision, but also to put a little bit of ourselves into it, because I think, like Dave said, this is kind of like a band, right? I mean, you're hoping that everybody brings something new to the table.
When you were working on these, you know, when you were working with artists and writers and whatnot, you felt like you were giving them creative license. Were there things you really wanted to get in there for certain songs you really needed to nail down?
Well, obviously, I wanted to be the best it possibly could be, but I'm a guitar player. I'm not an illustrator. I'm not a penciler. I'm not a colorer. I don't write script. So I did my part, and the only other part that I had was making sure that I was consistent with what I believe the best I can do. So my part was being clear with what I wanted, what I liked, and what I didn't like, and I believe with all of the stuff that was submit, there was only one thing that I was unsure of. It wasn't even that I didn't like it, it was that I was unsure of something. But this, for me, I love attention to detail, and I was just looking at it was She-Wolf, right? Was that the She-Wolf was the one I was looking at?
She-Wolf.
Yeah, was looking at the coloring on that, and it's just so amazing to see the level when you see your songs put into this kind of medium. Yeah, it's cool, but to see it at this level, it's like,
You guys worked with awesome artists and writers, as you said. So what are some of the songs and some of the writers and some of the artists that worked on this thing, so people have a better idea of, you know, when they get it, because they're going to, what they're going to expect when they open up this big graphic novel?
Sure. So it really is a big graphic novel because it's actually the size of an album. It's about 12.5 inches by 12.5 inches. There are editions that come packed in with like these exclusive clear vinyl. It's very cool. So when you see it, it's very large, it's very impressive, and then you really get the graphics. But Tim was one of the writers on it. Brian Wood was one of the writers. Ben Templesmith did some art. John LaMancha, who's based out of Chicago here, wrote and illustrated a story. I mean, it literally, there's 60, I think there were, 68 creators, about 100 people worked on the book, and we started this was like record time. We started this, I think we first had a conversation in LA in December. We started the book the middle of January, and it finished yesterday.
Like January 2019?
Yeah, like 2 months ago. It took about 10 weeks to start to...
That's the wonder of comic books, man. Like, it's collaborative, and everybody in this industry is used to working on a crazy deadline. So you can drop us something like this and be like, yeah, we got it, man. That's how it works.
But the number one thing that I kept on saying to people was, no matter what, give me your best work. Really give me your best work. Like, sometimes when you put people under pressure, that's when the impulse, and that's when you really kind of shine. It depends. Some people just completely will. Unfortunately, we had one creator. We only lost one person through. It was awesome.
He was killed. He was murdered.
Literally.
Yeah.
Well, we backed over him.
The one guy Dave wasn't sure about.
Is an accident. But no, it was fantastic how every single creator messaged me after they turned their work in. They're like, I gotta say, man, I think this is the best thing I've ever done. And I was like, give me a break. And then I would look, I was like, I gotta be honest, this might be the best thing you've ever done. I'm sorry, it was only 10 pages.
What's interesting also is that, like you said, it took such a short time to make. When you're writing songs, I mean, I know some things come out like lightning bolt of inspiration. What would you say is the usual amount of time it takes to write one of your great songs?
I wish there was an average. For me, there's no telling. I've only written one song in one sitting, and that was a song called In My Darkest Hour. And that was because someone that I loved very dearly had perished in a bus accident,
Oh.
and I kind of found out in a really kind of lame way because the people that were closest to this friend of mine didn't tell me. I found out through a pretty far removed party, and I was really shook up over it. And that came like that. Usually the songs, the music and the lyrics are totally disconnected, and it's kind of trying to fit them all together.
Well, working with these creators or, watching them work, did it inspire something in you as a musician, or did it help your creative process?
Oh, I wish I was as fast as they are.
Yeah, well, so like you said, you were, Iron Man, Captain America, Punisher as a kid. Have you kept up with comics over the years?
To a degree. Some of them, I would be remiss if I said I kept up with everything. There's just been so much work with Megadeth has been so busy. I still am a huge fan of the Punisher, and the Punisher's interwoven with Spidey, and you can't help seeing all the sub-stories through everything, but I don't really follow anything per se anymore.
Okay.
But the Punisher's still my favorite comic.
So would you say the Punisher is the most heavy metal superhero?
I would have to get back with you on that because I don't know if there's any new superheroes out. I think
I'd say Vic Rattlehead's the most heavy metal.
That's true. Does he make appearances, Vic, throughout this book?
He's in every story.
He's in all but 8. There are only 8 Vic Light stories.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. So
It's all interpretations of Vic, because I think Vic is kind of this, symbol kind of, and everybody kind of did their own take on what the Vic Rattlehead as a guy his story would be.
That's awesome. So how can people, when does it come out, and how can people get their copy?
The book comes out the first week of June. You can get it through comic retailers, bookstores. We have an exclusive edition with FYE that's like leather bound, signed with the vinyls, and then also through heavymetal.com.
All right, well, go check it out, guys. Stay tuned here. This is Dave Mustaine and the guys from Heavy Metal. It's pretty awesome. We're going to continue with the show. Keep watching. Use hashtag C2E2, hashtag It's a Fan Thing, and we will be right back.